Hello everyone. How are you all doing today? I hope you're all doing well. And if you are local or even across the country, I hear it's hot everywhere. I hope you are surviving the heat. It is a hot one. We had some run-ins. Oh my gosh, so hot. Apparently I can't speak. We had some errands that took us a bit longer today, so I apologize. I'm just getting to you now. Hi Ramona, how are you? I know you guys were working out in that heat today, so you must be exhausted at this point. It's hot just driving around in it, never mind working in it. But anyhow, we are here and it looks like the live is working. So I am Alana Worf, Sleepless Stamper. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada. And I'm here tonight to do card number 4 in the Changing Leaves series of projects. I actually have another one in the works that is not a card. It's not actually for our series of 5, it's a bonus. And I'm excited to share it once it's finished. I've decided to go a different route with one part of it. So it's not quite done yet. I just have to get the proper feed up here on my end so I can follow along. There we go. It seems to be working here. I just will adjust this a little bit so we're not so far off to one side. I'm sorry, it's always so hard to know exactly what it's going to look like. That's a little better until we get live. So if you are here, say hello. Hi Linda, how are you? And let me know where you're watching from. And if you have seen any of the last few cards, yesterday we did this really cool baby wipe technique. So I will show you guys the 3 cards that we've done prior to this one. And I'm also going to quickly show you the bundle again. Now, I am just looking at this, telling myself that there is a little die missing from there. And here it is, right in front of my face. Okay, so we have this little Changing Leaves, whoopsie, stamp set and die set. It's not little, it's amazing. It's got lots of stuff that goes with it. And we also have I had to grab my embossing folder. So we have this stamp set. It's got 3 different stamps that all have a die that go with them. So you can stamp and die cut. And then you can also line that die cut up inside this folder and die cut and texture those images all at once. Or you can just die cut and texture. So you can use it with the stamp set like I'm going to do today. I apologize, I have ink all over my hands again. And yesterday we also used it with the stamp set. In other days we used it without the stamp set. So I'm going to show you guys all of the last 3 cards that we made. If you want a really quick review of how to do yesterday's card, I did post a reel yesterday. I had been telling you guys during the live yesterday that I was hoping to get it done, and I managed to do so. So that is posted if you want a really quick review of how to do baby wipe stamping. All right, I hope I didn't say bubble stamping a minute ago, but I meant baby wipe stamping. All right, so these are the other dies. So you get these accent dies, and then we have these label dies. So the labels coordinate with some of the greetings here. So this one, or the thank you, would fit nicely in here. Here for you will fit in this little one. And both a little note to brighten your day and you are amazing in every way will fit in this one here. Then you can also use a whole variety of other greetings. You don't have to keep yourself limited to these ones. You can use these with other greetings, and of course you can use the dies with any set. Well, maybe not any set, but you can definitely mix and match what you use it with. Okay, so we're going to move the bundle aside. I will review the cards from days 1 through 3. So those are this one here. This was day number 3 or project number 3. This is the one that I did the baby wipe stamping on. And then I did a little bit of baby wipe stamping on the inside as well. I also did a little sheet that I wanted to show you guys. I need to make a card out of this one because I love how this turned out. I used this image here that I stamped on the inside with to stamp a background, and I just love how those colors turned out with the baby wipe stamping. So I wanted to show you guys that. And I am using some of those leftover peaches, my gosh, I can't speak today, pieces to make a scrapbook page. And that is the project I was working on that I decided to go a different route, or at least try with one of my elements. So I hope to finish it up tonight and have it to share with you guys tomorrow. All right, so project number 3, this was project number 1, where I created this watercolor background and then laid clean white embossed leaves. So no stamping on these leaves. I just die cut them and then laid them on the watercolor background. And then in keeping with that theme and using some of the leftovers, I made project number 2 with just a single leaf. And then we also colored the vanilla ribbon with our blends. So those are projects 1 through 3. I'll set these aside and I'm going to show you project number 4. So this one is a case of a card that I did with the Perennial Lavender Suite. And I better just put the belly band back on so I can show you guys. So I had made this one. I feel like the fancy fold, I can't remember what it's called, but I feel like I got this idea. Hi, Kathy and Louise and Mary. I feel like I got the idea for this fold from Sue Campfield. She is the queen of fancy folds. If you like fancy folds, you have probably come across her page. So I think that's where this is from, but I can't be certain. So I'm just pretty sure that that's where it's from. So I made this belly band to go around it with these elements here. And then I put DSP on the front, DSP on the flaps, and then I did a little bit of stamping on the inside. And I actually stamped on the DSP here as well. So with this one having so many coordinating pieces of DSP, that was a little easier to come up with. We don't have a coordinating DSP that goes with the changing leaves. Oh my goodness, who knows what the holiday catalog will bring us. Maybe we'll have something in there that will go nicely with fall. I imagine we will, but you never know. So that is the Perennial Lavender one. I actually had another one as well, I believe. Let me just see if I made 2 versions of that. I have my Perennial Lavender cards beside me, so I'm just trying to do a quick flip. I think I might have left them on display in the basement, so I won't run down there. But there should be 2 of that one, and I would have shared them a while back on Instagram and Facebook. So then for this one, I wanted to use that fancy fold. I need to make a landscape card for you guys tomorrow, or at least try, because we have done all portrait style cards. So I decided I would try the same fold with this one, but I needed to pull in a variety of DSP. So I have made this belly band. It's got the stamped and die cut leaf. I've used some of my leftover my leftover watercolored paper from yesterday. I just love how this one turned out. It was kind of heartbreaking to cut into this, but anyhow, so I accented with a little leaf here and just stamped the greeting, and then used some DSP as my belly band there. Now this one has one type of DSP here. I have used the Perennial Lavender here. This one is from, let me just give you the names of them. This is the To Market DSP. That one has a coordinating stamp and die set. Now this wood grain DSP is from, let me just figure out if they're both from the same one. I actually used 2 different ones. I used this one on the front, and this one are the same, and this one's actually a little bit different. So let me just check where I got those from. All right. This one here is also what I stamped. I probably could have just stamped that on Moody Mauve cardstock, but there is a little bit of multi-tones behind the stamped image. So this is actually going to get stamped on this one here, and this is from the Wildflower. Let me just get the name of that one. It is called, whoopsie, I knocked it off the table, Wildly Flowering. Now, I believe my fan is on, it's blowing paper everywhere. This one should be from Country Woods, I think it's called. Give me 1 second. Country Woods DSP. So that is where I believe this one is from. I just want to, I had some help cleaning up in here. and the DSP got moved. So 1 second. I have it underneath a little stack of stuff. And we're going to just confirm. Yes, that one is from Country Woods. That one. And the other one is also from Country Woods. So it is these two here from Country Woods that I used. This one on the front, and the little flap on the front and the little strip on the inside, and then this lighter one. I was going to go with this lighter one on the inside, and then I just wasn't a fan of it. So you could even just get away with using the same one and just go with all this one. But there's a lot of different wood grains in that DSP. So I am going to cut my DSP for you guys so that you can see how I got all of these pieces. But that's the inside. We have this little belly band for the outside, and it folds like this. You could also, because, well, that stamping is there, but if you prefer, I have actually just recently seen where somebody rotated this. Let me just see if I can get that back in there. And they made theirs go this way. So if you prefer to have all of these folds on this side, you could always do that. Yeah, Linda, that Country Woods DSP is so pretty. I love it. And I love that it's not all just natural wood colors. I like that it has a little bit of variety of colors, like the teals and the blue and all that kind of stuff. I think I'm going to keep my fold the same way, but I will now show you guys all of the different DSP elements so we can get those ready. You can have the measurements, and then I will get on to making the card. All right, so we do need to take this back off, and I'll show you all of these. So this one here should be 3.5 by 5.25. And you can mix and match whatever you have. If you have old DSP or a different color palette that you're using and you have stuff that you want to use up, that Country Woods paper would be really nice if you use different ones from that. If you had a different color palette, I just needed to find something to go with this color palette, because I did tell you guys yesterday, I don't necessarily set out to go with one color palette, but then sometimes, hi Cindy, it turns out that way that I keep the whole week in the same palette. It makes it a little bit easier for people who are going to make the cards to not have, if they don't have all of our ink colors, then at least they can, if they need to buy one or two, then they can still make them. All right, so it's a little bit easier that way to stick with one palette. So this is 3.5 by 5.25. I am going to just grab that piece of DSP, and I'm going to grab, I'm just going to swing this fan a little bit the other way, and my cutter. All right, so we're going to move this over a little bit. Now, I'm going to try to bring this so you guys can see. We're going to open this up, push, this is the gray one, is the scoring blade. So we're going to push that out of the way. I don't need to score, I need to cut. So I need 3.5. So I'm going to line this edge up to 3.5. And then push my blade down. It should continue where I left off. I left off at 5.25, so I'm going to go to 10.5. And the 10.5 is likely off camera, but I stopped at 10.5. Now I can rotate this, and I'm going to cut this at 5.25. So we're going to line this edge up here to 5.25. I'm going to slide my blade back up, and then I'm just going to slice down to 3.5. And now that should release that piece there. So that's what I need for the front. Now we can put this one aside. Next, I have this piece here from Perennial Lavender. I think that's what the DSP is actually called. Now, I may need to snag some from a second piece, so I just have to, I pulled all this extra DSP in here. Before I cut into that one, I just want to make sure of what I need so that I just want to make optimal use out of my DSP. So I'm just making a quick assessment. Here we go. All right, so I am going to have to cut into both of these. Neither one of these will be enough. The bottom portion is not 5.25 high, so I'm going to have to cut one from this one and then one piece from the other one. All right, so this one looks wide enough, but let's just make sure. This should be 1.5. So if this is 1.5, then I can just cut this. Yep, it is. So I can just cut this off at 5.25. I try to use scraps where I can and use this cutter to just snip off the amount I need instead of just hacking into all of my DSP. I never used to do that, and then I would run short. So that's my tip for you. Now this one here, I just need a 1 inch by 5.25. So this time I'm gonna go to the 1 inch over here. It's a little bit easier to do that, and then my guide can hold all that down for me. So I'm gonna bring my blade up here, and then I can slice down. Just wanna make sure this is straight. Then slice down to 5.25. There we are. And this time I'm just going to rotate this over so that I can use my guide. So 5.25, and then I can just slice in to the 1. There we go. So that's that piece. So now we have this piece, we have this piece, and this piece. I also need this piece of wood grain and this piece of wood grain. This one is the same as this one. So this one is 1 inch by 5.25, and this one is 3/8 of an inch by 5.25. I have little scraps of those. I have the end piece from the long strip that I have already cut, so we're gonna use those. So now this one I had cut a 1 inch piece, knowing I would make this the second card with you guys. So this time I don't want this light piece, I want the darker portion. So I am going to rotate this and cut at 5.25. So that is for the front. And now this one, I don't want the really dark end, so I'm rotating it this way, and I will snip this at 5.25. Okay, so we have those for the inside. Now I'm just gonna move these over. We still need this one here. Now these pieces you see on the inside are those flaps, so we don't need to cut anymore. It's just this piece here, and that is 3.5 by 5.25. That is off of this piece here from Country Woods. And again, I started off thinking I would use this one, but I just didn't love the coloring of that. I liked this with the flow of that on the inside, so I switched it up. Thankfully the other side worked well, so my DSP did not go to waste. Okay, so we are going to move this. I'm gonna just slide this back in here. We are again gonna slide this over to 3.5. Do you guys just cut the whole strip off, or do you strategically cut your DSP? Let me know what you guys do. Now this one here, again, just like that other one, I need to go to 10.5 so that I have a 5.25 piece by 3.5. And then I can bring this end to 5.25, and then I will slide this down to 3.5, and there we are. So that is all of the DSP. I have cut all of it. So it's not so scary. Once you have some measurements and some instruction on how to cut it, it is not so scary to cut into your DSP, especially if you do like I did there. Oh, I have to cut one more. Sorry, I need the piece to stamp on. If you did like I did and you just cut out what you need instead of just slicing a whole portion, then I feel a little bit better about it. Okay, so we're gonna move these ones just for now so that I can bring that cutter back in and cut this piece. Now I will give you guys the measurement for this one. It is a little bit tight, but I did it this way to try and help conserve my paper. So this one should be 3.5 by 4.25. Well, you maybe be able to get it out of a 4, but I wanted to make sure I had room around the image to die cut. So if you are really precise with your cutting though, you could possibly get 3 down if you wanted to try that. If you went with 3.5 by 4, I would try it with a piece of just like printer paper first to make sure that the sizing will work for you, and then you're not wasting any paper. So again, we're going to go to the 3.5, And this time, I'm just moving the scoring blade out of the way. This time we are gonna go to 8.5 because the first time I went to 4 1/4, so now I need to double that and go to 8.5. There we are. And then here we're gonna flip to 4 1/4. There we go. Now we have all of our pieces. I also have, just need to show you the rest of the elements. Okay, now that we have our DSP, I will bring all of this back and I am going to, sorry, I have ink all over everything. There's been a lot of inky techniques lately. Sometimes there isn't. It is very pretty, Linda. There's like, I've used a variety, but if you earn this week's kits, I will cut all those pieces and give them to you. So at least you guys don't have to buy like 3 different kinds of DSP. All right, so this piece is actually a little bit different than your standard card base. This one is, it will end up being a standard card size, but the base we're working with is a little bit bigger because of all the folds. So it is 11 inches wide by 5.5, and then I'm gonna give you guys the scoring measurements. I have pre-die cut this Blackberry Bliss element. That is from the online exclusives, Greetings of the Season dies. You get all of these, just excuse that they're not all on here at the moment because I have been using them and I have a couple on a project at the moment while I am gauging the layout. Hi, Marcia. So you also get this one here, I've outlined it, and this one here. So with the Greetings of the Season dies, you get all of these that are stitched, and then these ones have solid outlines. So I have used this one and pre-die cut that with Blackberry Bliss. I have pre-die cut this, hi Karen, little element here. That's from this piece of paper that I did that watercolor background on. I did some extras of those. I have a 4 by 5 1/4 white. That is for this layer right here. And then I have a little strip of crumb cake, and that is for this one here. Now, speaking of belly band, I need to die cut, or not die cut, sorry. I need to cut one more piece of DSP because I need my belly band. And that is also from Wildly Flowering. Is this paper not so pretty? I love this. I actually was planning to stamp on that one. I was going to use it on this panel right here and stamp on it like I did here. Hey, Kelly. But I wasn't loving the wood grain as the belly band, and I decided I really liked that one as the belly band. So I switched things up. But I still like how it turned out. So we're gonna go with that. So I just need to cut one more strip of DSP. It is 1 inch by 9. All right, so we're going to I'm gonna just cut the 1 inch strip. So I'll actually use my other cutter for that. All right, here we are. So I love this paper. It also made me contemplate whether or not I should use use Pebbled Path as the base, but it didn't go with all the other elements. All right, so this is 1 by 9. There we are. And I also almost used this little strip as the greeting layer. I'll show you guys this. I wasn't a fan, so I thought it blended in too much with the belly band, so I redid it and I used a crumb cake one instead. But if you like this, if you prefer that, you could always use this little leftover strip and make a greeting out of that. Or maybe you could even stamp something else for the inside on here and layer it on that white piece there. That might look nice. I'll skip that for today, but I think it might look nice. Okay, so now we have all of our elements and we have a little bit of stamping to do. So I'm going to keep the belly band off. I will score in a moment. We're going to do the stamping first, and I will score the base momentarily for you. Doesn't that look pretty? I think you could do a nice clean and simple card with these elements too. I feel like I need to take a real quick picture of that. Do you guys, this is what I do. if I have something that sparks an idea, I will quickly take a picture of it. And then that way I will hopefully remember to look back at my camera roll. Usually I will. Usually I'll know that I did that and then come back and revisit it. Okay, so we're gonna stamp on here. We're gonna move these little pieces of DSP and the die cut leaf out of the way. And we're gonna keep all of our stamping elements here. So this is very hard to see. I wanted a little bit of extra color. Now, once I added all the elements, you don't see them very much, but I'm still going to do them. So I stamped the background of this with this leaf here from the stamp set. So I have a little scrap sheet here. We're gonna do that first and get that done and set it aside. And Blackberry Bliss ink. So Blackberry Bliss is actually the only color of ink that I'm using today, I believe. I say that now and then I haven't looked on the inside of the card, but I'm positive that is what I did. Now I'm also going to show you guys this. I could have probably hidden the hole behind that element there, but I wanted to use it to tie a piece of linen thread through. Originally I had the tag flipped the other way, and I wasn't loving the bow over here disconnected from the greeting. So I actually peeled it apart and flipped it over and then fit it in here. So if that's not particular to, if you're not particular about that, you can switch it around, but that was my method, my madness there. So I am going to stamp this on here. If you wanted to give this a little bit more detail, you could also heat emboss with clear powder or gold maybe even, and you would get more detail than just the tone on tone. All right, so this is just really simple tone on tone stamping. I'll bring this a little closer so you can see. Hopefully that shows up with the light there. So that is the label. We'll move that aside. Just gonna set my stamp aside so I don't stick my arm in that. And now we're gonna bring in this one here. For this one, I just need to find where, there it is, right beside me. I'm gonna use this large leaf image again. And this one here is gonna be Blackberry Bliss on this patterned Moody Mauve paper from Wildly Flowering. One day I'll get fancy and maybe I'll have the product numbers pop up on the screen for you. So far, I'm just happy to be here live. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna try to center this so that I have room on all sides for my die cut. So I'm just trying to tiptoe and not get my head in the way. There we go. There. So now we have enough room that we should be able to die cut that. Before I die cut that, I'm just going to stamp my greeting. So I have the "You are amazing in every single way." And we're gonna try to stamp this straight. There we go. This time I didn't heat emboss. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna die cut this one here, and I'm just trying to decide. I will die cut and emboss in one step. The other, when I did my sample, I actually die cut it and then I taped the die cut image into the embossing folder, but I am going to do this. So I'm going to actually tape. You don't usually need to do this. This will, like you can see here, I am trying to slide this and it's pretty stuck in there. But I just want to make sure it's not going to move when I flip my folder upside down with my image in there. I found that when I did this, when we had the lemon set, that I had a little bit more success with nothing moving on me. So I am just putting this tape over the silver part. I'm not taping it right over where it's going to die cut. Otherwise, you've got to replace it. So I'm just taping over the silver. I almost said silly part. Reminds me of Silly Putty. Hi, Karen. We've got a couple of Karens. We had a couple Kathys yesterday and today a couple of Karens. Okay. All right. So that is taped in place. Now I'm going to get another piece of tape ready. This is just Post-it tape. If you have sticky notes, those work too. So I am now going to line this up, and you can see where, like, that's not lined up. You can see where the image lines up with the texture of the folder. So I just look through there so that I can see it's lined up, and then I can tape this in place. And then that way your texture is going to line up with, I should have ripped two pieces off, because now I'm trying to hold everything in place while I rip off tape. Okay, so now I'm going to tape this on this side. There we are. Okay, so now I need to bring over my stamp cut and emboss machine. I just need to move this because it will be in the way of the machine and I don't want to bend those. Bring this clunker over here. We're gonna put, that's the platform, your base platform, you need that. And then the only plate you need is plate number 4, the big thick gray one. If you put any other plates or try to put any other plates in there, they will not fit through. This is all that you can put in here with the 3D embossing folders. I don't think I gave you guys a recap today yet of how you can earn these kits. So if you would like to earn the kits for this week's cards, you can do so with a $65 order in Canada. And with a $65 order this week, so before Sunday, then, and just message me to say, oh, see, look, it moved. Just message me to say that you would like this card kit, or this set of card kits, then I will know that you would like to qualify to get these. I'm gonna have to redo that because that does not look good. Bear with me, we're gonna cut a new piece. Don't mind me, everybody. And I think maybe this time I'll die cut it first and then I'll put it in the machine. That's what I was afraid of. Like, it should work, and it usually does. I just must have jumbled something there. All right, so 3.5 by 4.25, and I don't know that you could go down to 4. I feel like it would be too small to allow you room to die cut it. All right, so we're gonna go to 4.25. So I was saying, if you would like to earn this week's set of card supplies, if you purchase make a $65 purchase, either in my online store or sending it to me if you want to do local pickup, then that will qualify you to get the supplies for this week's cards. If you are interested in joining for Stamp Club this month, we are also going to be doing the Changing Leaves bundle. Most people seem to be okay with that. And we were going to use Spotlight on Nature, but we can't get the stamp set right now. And so then if you wanted to do that, you could also join us for a Stamp Club. It would be an additional $40, so $65 for one, $40 for the other, and then you would get to make all of the cards. And I can't remember what the price of this bundle is, but I think it's more than the $65, so it would get you part way to the $105 for both. There we are. So we're gonna try this again. I feel like I should just put it back in here and, well, no. We're gonna die cut it first. I'll do what I did on the last one. Sorry for the second guessing. Okay, so to do this, I am still gonna tape this in place. I hope you guys don't mind the redo. I want to love the end result. Sometimes it's livable. It doesn't line up. So maybe I'll clean it up later and rerun it through. Sometimes I'll do that. So now we're gonna bring the machine back in. We're gonna switch the plates. I'm gonna move this first. We don't need that again, so we don't wanna end up sticking our hand in there. All right, so for the dies only, you put your base platform in, which is platform 1. Then you put platform 2 in there. Oh, look, I have some tape on there. Then you put a cutting pad down. I feel like this is supposed to be a numbered cutting pad, but... And then I can put this on here. And then I can take another cutting pad, which is cutting pad 3. So this might be an old cutting pad. And that moved. I've got to tape it on both sides or it's not going to hold. So we're just going to steal one of those pieces of tape that were sitting right there. And we're going to tape the other side. There we go. Now we can put that back in. There we are. Now we can cut this. And then I'll tape it into the embossing folder so that it's in the right spot. Now, I will actually have to bring the machine back. Should have just left it there. Okay, so we're going to bring that back. I still have platform number 1, and now I grab platform number 4 again. So even though I'm not putting the die back in with that folder, I still only use these 2 platforms. You still don't put anything else in there with it, or it won't fit. Now, I set that folder aside. Now we're still going to line this up, and I'm going to grab these pieces of tape. All right, so we're going to restart. I'm going to line it up just out of your view because it is very hard to line it up between here and the camera without hitting you guys there, but I will show you once I have it lined up so that you can see, so that it's not just a guessing game for you. It just requires my concentration for a moment. Okay, so here we go. I have put it in place and then I taped it in a few different places to hold it. And now I will put this back in here. Now I'm wondering, when I did that other one, did I put it spine side in? I might have to rewatch the video and see if I put spine side in first, because you're supposed to. And sometimes if you put the open side into the rollers first, it'll shift things. So that might even be what I did that caused that shifting, but I'll have to go back and watch it to see. All right, so here now that looks much better. It didn't shift, it stayed in place with my tape. And now I can just take these off. So once we do the stamping and all that texture, you don't really notice much of the pattern in that DSP that I stamped on. So you could easily get away with just using cardstock. I just had already committed to it, so. And then you do have a little bit of variation in color behind there. Okay, so we're all done now with the embossing and stamping. I'm going to just wipe up this little bit of ink so that I don't get that I missed the stem. I did it went over the edge of the paper on that one, I guess. There we go. And now we can bring back in all of the parts. I'll bring back in the sample. Has anybody done this fold before, or have you ever made a belly band? Let me know. We're gonna first just clean up this little greeting. And then I need to give you guys all the scoring measurements as well. So I'm gonna just trim this a little shorter first. Karen, if you're still there, there I go with my little cutter again. Trying to be careful not to cut myself. All right, so I just want to check to see it is a little crooked along the bottom, so I'm just going to clean that up and just trim this off. Now I can rotate this and trim some off the top so that it is a little narrower. There we go. So we've got that. And now I will just trim so that there's about 3/8 of an inch on either side. And I'm just eyeballing it. It's not a specific measurement. If you would like a measurement, I will give this a quick measure for you. Just in case. It ends up being about 2.5 inches. So let's see how close. There we go. That one's 2.5 inches as well. Okay, so that is that trimmed down. Now I need to give you guys the measurements for the card base, and I will score it along with you. All right, I'm gonna move that out of the way so that it's doesn't get squished. I'm going to use my Simply Scored, though you could also use your trimmer and score with that. So this is scored at 1 3/4 here, 5 1/2, and 9 3/4. So we're just going to tuck that in. This is along the 11-inch side, and then just a recap, it is 5 1/2 inches tall. So 1 3/4, 5 1/2, and 9 3/4. And I like to use this skinny ball when I'm scoring cardstock, and if I'm scoring DSP, I will use the wider one. All right, I find the skinny one gives a nicer score line on your cardstock, which is thicker, and then you want to be careful with your DSP, so that is my reasoning for using the different sizes of the balls. Okay, so now we're just going to score this that way, or sorry, fold that, not score that, we already scored it. Now this wider one is going to fold backwards towards the front. And then this one is also going to fold this way towards the front. There we go. So we'll bring this back in. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mess here. Now we can go ahead and start adhering these layers. So this one is going to go on this front layer here. I can see I have a little white edge there. I'm going to clean that up quickly. It's easier to clean it up as you go before, I'm not going to use my cutter, but before you attach them, because otherwise you cannot, not easily anyway. There we are. Now I'm just going to use Tombow. So that's the one from the To Market, I think it's called, or Fresh Market, I can't remember what it's called, but it has the dies that go with the DSP, so you can cut those images out. Oh, I do have one more stamp to do. I told you guys I was all done with that Blackberry Bliss, and I was forgetting about stamping the inside. There we go. Now we can put the larger of the two gingham. So we have these two here. This one is going to go right here. That is from the Perennial Lavender. I think it's from that suite anyway. I don't know for sure if that's what the DSP is called. Again, one day hopefully I will get to the point where I can just hit a button and the name will pop up on the screen for you. Okay, so then when it's open, we're going to see the coordinating piece of DSP, so like this, and then the wood grain is on the front. So we're going to attach this one right here on the inside of that flap. I love that the Tombow gives me that little bit of flexibility to just wiggle things into place. There we go. Now we're going to put this strip of the wood grain on the front. And let's see. I like how that turned out with the light at the top, so we're going to go with that. And again, if you were using different color palettes than what I have chosen, like this DSP has colored wood grain, you could probably tie that in there. If you were using a different color palette, I was just searching through all the current DSP that I have to find pieces that would go well with this. Now, there is another one that goes nicely. This is the back. This is the Thoughtful Journey, I think it's called, DSP. It's from the Thoughtful, I always mix it up whether it's Thoughtful Journey or Thoughtful Wishes Suite, but it's from that 6x6 DSP pack. And this also, I thought, went nicely with this color palette. So you could easily tie that in if you have that paper. I actually, first of all, stamped the leaf on that, as you could probably see, and I just didn't love it. It was too blended in for me. I wanted the pop of a little bit of different color, so I brought in the Moody Mauve. Okay, so we now have this. Now we have to add the, didn't set my basic white down with the other, so we're going to bring that in. I do need to stamp on that first though, so I want to stamp that little thing in the corner, the little leaf. And let me just see, you were amazing in every single way. I'm not going to stamp the thank you on the inside of this one. I'm going to leave it. Yesterday I added the thank you on the inside, but today I'm going to skip that. But I do need to bring back in my little scrap. We'll move this aside for a moment. And I need to grab, I moved that stamp aside so I wouldn't end up sticking my elbow in it. And I'm just using this little portion here. I'm not going to, you can see there, I'm not going to try to stamp this whole thing on there. So just a little bit over the corner. There we are. Move that out of the way again. Going to have to give those leaves a good cleaning. That is the one drawback to using these inks that have such a deep purple or navy or red in them. And look, I went over the edge anyway after I put that scrap underneath there. It didn't serve its purpose, did it? Just going to clean that up because I don't want that getting on the back of my layers. Now I need to add this little strip of DSP. So that one I pre-cut. I went and moved things while I was, you wouldn't think that things would disappear quite so easily, but it blends in. It's right here. I have, that happens to be the piece of paper that's on the top of my little pile here. And so, of course, I set it right on top of there. So now I'm just going to use a little bit of Tombow. Just a thin bead. You don't want to use too much, because that paper is, or that glue is very sticky. If you have been around a while, you may know that the first time I did a kids class, I used Tombow. I learned a quick lesson that time. And we did not use that as our adhesive again. This little strip was just a little bit too long, so I just snipped the edge off to clean that up. Now, let's make sure that I have nice borders. Okay, so I have slightly more of a border around the top and bottom than the sides. So I'm going to trim a little bit off this edge. Probably should have done that before I stamped it, but that's okay. It's just going to take a little bit of that leaf off, and I'm okay with that. All right, so we're going to go to there. And just reassess. Okay, so now before I glue it down, I also want to just do a quick dry fit. And see here, I can see that white line. I don't want to see that white line. So I will need to just trim off a little bit more, it looks like, because yeah, it's going to butt it too far over. To set this in far enough that I don't see that white. So I'm going to trim a little bit more off the inside. And it's worth checking that first. Otherwise, if you just put it down and center it, then you may be a little bit frustrated if it's not quite lined up. So this, mine, I'm cinching back to about a 1/16 less. So let's just retry this one more time. Again, I don't want to have that show the white there. So now we should be good. Okay, now I have another little trick for you guys, or not a trick, but I saved something. I know some of you sometimes struggle with the Stampin' Seal and the refills, or knowing how to put them in. I ran out of this while I was making my sample, so I saved it. I used tear and tape in the meantime so that I could show you how to replace this. So you just take the top part here and you just separate that. Now you can take this part out. You can see there, this orange part has made its way to the end. So this is garbage. And now I can take this new one. I just popped this new one. I took it out of this Stampin' Seal Plus bag. So I've just taken that out of there, and we're just gonna pop this back into here. There we are. Now I can put this cover back on, and then you just need to, I'm just sliding this a little forward, and now I can see that the adhesive is there. So I'm going to just put some of this on here, and I'm not running this right close to the edge. There we go. Now I want to just, this is still going to go slightly more to the left, but I just didn't want to hack any more off of it. So there we go. Okay, so we've got that piece in there. Now we have this piece here. I still prefer that wood, the darker wood grain to the light, but you could always switch that. If you went with the light, you could even stamp leaves on there. You can make a little pocket for a gift card. You can make a little pocket for a photo. You could even maybe add this into a scrapbook. But we're gonna go with this and just attach this with Tombow. I don't usually use such a large piece of DSP on the inside of a card, but I went for it. And when you're working with a large pack of wood grain DSP, it's a little bit easier to do that because it's harder, I find, when you have very specifically themed paper in your pack, then it leaves you with not enough to do something more with. But there's lots of wood grains in this pack, so it's all good. So that is the inside of the card. Now we are going to put this belly band back on. So when I'm putting these back on, I just fold the front a little bit so that the corner's in there, and then wiggle that on and slide that down. It doesn't affect it if you just bend it that little bit at the beginning. Okay, so now I am going to use my grid sheet as a guide here. I'm going to line the bottom of my card up with one of these lines of grid, and then I'm going to line this strip up with another one. I do need to tear a little piece of tear and tape first. I like using tear and tape when I'm doing a belly band or anything that has like fancy folds. I just find that it holds better. I don't want to be worried that just using Stampin' Seal is going to give. So the bottom, it doesn't matter how far up you do this stage because it slides either way. If you were attaching this straight to your card, then you'd need to be particular, but you don't need to be with this. I just want to kind of have it centered side to side, and it is roughly centered. So I've just put that on one end, and I don't score this. I just like to use my sheet. My card is straight to the sheet. My strip is straight to the sheet, so now I can just fold that in, give it a little burnish. I'm not doing this super tight. You want it to have a little bit of slack, and then I just fold this in. And now they should line up with each other. And then here I can just let that go back, peel this backing off, and press that down. So now we have our belly band that slides back and forth. There we go. Now I need to dimensional this little die cut label that I did earlier. I'm going to use my black dimensionals for this. I feel like this is a very autumn looking card, but that's okay. I had to just resign myself to that some of them were gonna look a little bit autumn with this color palette and sticking with it for the week. Okay, so I just did 3 across the middle. Those should not interfere with the belly band at all. You just want to make sure that none of these exceed the strip, otherwise it'll tape that down to your card. I'm putting the little hole over here because I'm going to put my linen thread through there after, and I'm just trying to center this. So I've got about equal space with this little portion here, equal space at the top and bottom of the strip, or I'm trying to, excuse my head for a second here, and equal space to this side of the label and to this side of the label. There we go. Now for my leaf, this is going to go right here. And I can see that I can fully adhere this leaf. I can fully adhere this leaf. I can mostly adhere this one, but these two, I need to keep the dimensional that's behind there pretty tight to the center of the leaf. So I'm just gonna snip some of these in half. Don't ever just throw away these borders of your dimensionals. I'm sure most of you are avid enough crafters that you wouldn't do that, but just in case. So did anybody try the baby wipe technique after yesterday? I would love to know. So I just put on these bottom two that are going to remain on the label. I'm putting a half dimensional at the base of the leaf and towards the end of the leaf. And then on these next two, I'm putting a half a dimensional at the base of the leaf. Now this one, I cannot put that much. It's too much. It will stick out. So I'm just taking this little piece here and tucking that in there. And I can feel there's a little bit of tackiness on there from probably from the Post-it tape. It shouldn't do that, but I think because it's so textured, there we go. That feels better. Now I just want to do one more dry fit, and I can put a little bit more here. So we're going to just go about halfway up instead. Make sure that's not sticking over. There we go. Now we can go ahead and stick this one down. So just get those all peeled off. I did quite a bit more baby wipe stamping last night. If you weren't here at the beginning, I showed everybody this layer here. I love how that one turned out. So I'm gonna have to turn that into something. And then I've been working on a scrapbook page that I am hoping to finish tonight and be able to share with you all tomorrow. Okay, so this kind of angles off to one side. Now I have that opening there, and I went and set down the greeting. Did any of you see where I put the greeting? Here it is. I actually did miss one step with my Blackberry Bliss. Excuse my my reach. Okay, I actually wanted to just outline my greeting just so it didn't blend in quite so much. And I just outlined that by just tapping. So you don't want to drag with these foam pads. I don't like dragging them on there. We used to do that with the fabric ones, but I tried to just tap straight up and down with these ones. Okay, now this is going to, I feel like it looks crooked on that one. I'm going to dimensional this so that it just kind of hangs over this edge here, but I want to just tuck in the linen thread. Do you know what would be fun? We have, should be coming out in the holiday catalog, and I feel like I can say this because we were allowed to order it and create with it for Creativity Now, but that colored linen thread with a different color palette would be so pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to dimensional this, and we'll just use the mini ones for that. All right. Now I'm putting these not right at the end because this is going to go over the edge. So I don't want that to go too far. I want it to stay on the leaf. So this is going to go about right here, but I'm having this hang over this edge here. So let's just make sure, yep, that's still on the leaf. There we are. Now we can tie this into a bow. That little greeting is a little bit in my way of tying my bow. I like to keep all my layers nice and smooth. So a little trick for you, tie your bow first and then attach your greeting if you were doing this on the replay. Will it cost extra? I don't think so. It shouldn't, because there's really only 3 layers of dimensionals, but I wouldn't think it would. It might squish it a little bit, but I don't think it would cost extra. Okay, so there is the linen thread bow. And now I need to still add my little die cut leaf. Just got to grab it out of the stack of paper here. Now this one may be slightly different in color, just a little bit, because it is from this watercolor wash background that I made. So I'm just going to tuck this in. Now the benefit of only putting these dimensionals on either end is now I can tuck this in. Now watch, I probably went too far in with the dimensional. There we go. I don't want that to stick out the bottom. So there we are. You know what? This needs to move over just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we have this extra little leaf, and one more thing, we have the adhesive back textured dots. If you didn't want to tie the linen thread bow, you could strategically, well, it's hidden behind here anyway, or if you did put it on this side where I originally had it before I switched things over, you could hide it with this little gem. I hadn't yet put that gem in that spot when I decided to move everything over. So if I had done that first, then I would have realized I could probably just leave it and then glue dot my bow down there. But I do also like that that bow is nicely anchored right through that loop. So now I'm going to take one of these and tuck that in there. And this one here. So if you're wondering why I'm not using 3 gems, I am treating my bow like it is the 3rd embellishment. You don't always have to have 3 of the same embellishment, but it is a nice idea to have an odd number of accents and to place them in a triangular pattern. So I'm treating the bow and those 2 little gems like they are my odd numbered triangular pattern on my card. Oh, thank you so much, Christine. Yes, Linda, we should, at the beginning of August, I believe, is when we can add them. I better double check that. I think we can start ordering them ourselves to give to you at the beginning of August, and otherwise they start mailing from Stampin' Up, I think, around that time as well. All right, so that is card number 4. Sorry, it is not card number 3. We have already done number 3. So there is card number 4. I hope you guys will give something from this a try, whether it's the fold, whether it's the bundle, whether it's just using your DSP, but I hope it inspires you in some way. If you would like to earn the supplies, I'll just quickly recap that. For these cards here, this is card number 2, this is card number 1, card number 2, card number 3 with the baby wipe stamping. You would just need to supply your own baby wipe. We wouldn't want a baby wipe to get anything wet through the mail. So card number 3 and card number 4. If you want that quick recap on, and then there will be card number 5 tomorrow still as well. So if you want to earn the supplies to make all 5 cards, you have the hiccups again. It's almost made it to the end. You can earn them with placing a $65 order with this host code, or you can contact me if you're local. I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and you could pick up your kit and your order from me. Otherwise, online works. And if you're here just for inspiration, that's totally okay too. If you want a really quick recap on how to do this bubble wrap stamping, I posted a reel for you guys yesterday, or if you want the full replay, it is on Facebook and YouTube as well, same as these other ones here. So you can always catch the replay either here on Facebook or over on YouTube. And sometimes I'll make a reel. I've got to go back to the Seaside Wishes week and make a few of those for you guys yet. But thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you tuning in to watch. I will be back tomorrow with card number 5. It will most likely be in the evening again. The daytimes are just busy with Lennon actually working some daytimes and needing a ride. He doesn't have his license just yet, but he is practicing and getting a lot more skilled as a driver, so that's nice. But we'll be back tomorrow, and I appreciate you guys again for tuning in with me. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.